All right, so are you ready to dive into a pretty wild chapter of American history?
I am, yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about the Comanches.
Right.
Specifically around like Cynthia Ann Parker and her son, Quanah.
Yeah.
And our guide for this is going to be A New Kind of War, the Comanches and Cynthia Ann Parker.
Excellent book.
Yeah, and this is a book that really takes us right into the heart of the Texas frontier.
It really does. It's a story of incredible resilience and, brutal conflict, but really a clash of cultures that shaped the American West.
Yeah.
As we know it.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little. We're starting in 1836.
Okay.
Texas has just declared independence from Mexico.
Right.
The Alamo has just fallen. The Republic of Texas is, just a baby.
Yeah, trying to find its feet.
Yeah, not exactly a stable time, right?
Oh, absolutely not. It was a period of intense uncertainty. And that instability fueled tensions between settlers and Native American tribes, like the Comanches. Imagine you're a Comanche family. Your way of life is tied to this vast territory, and suddenly you have these newcomers pushing in, claiming land, building forts.
Yeah.
It's setting the stage for some serious conflict.
Yeah, it really is. And right in the thick of it is the Parker family. And these are deeply religious pioneers.
All right.
That settled right on the edge, the very edge of the frontier.
Not the very edge.
They helped form the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Which tells you something about them.
Tells you something about their, attitude.
Yeah, their grit.
Yeah, their commitment to, creating a life in this new world. But their fort, Parker's Fort.
Right.
Though it was meant to be a haven, it was also a symbol of that intrusion into Comanche territory.
Right.
You can almost see it as a challenge, a provocation from the Comanche perspective.
Yeah. And that challenge was answered.
Yes, it was.
On May 19th, 1836.
Okay.
So 1 minute, it's a peaceful morning at the fort.
Right.
The next, it's just a full-on Comanche raid.
Full on.
The accounts from survivors, like Rachel Parker Plummer.
Oh, yeah?
Are chilling.
Yeah.
The suddenness, the brutality.
The Comanches were masters of surprise attacks.
Yeah.
And remember, raiding wasn't just about acquiring resources. It was integral to their culture. It was a way to prove their strength, to instill fear in their enemies, to maintain their dominance on the plains, their tactics, their horsemanship, their sheer ferocity. It's all designed to send a very powerful message.
Oh, yeah. And that message was received.
Yeah.
Tragically.
Right.
But there's this one detail that really stuck with me.
Okay.
And it's almost darkly funny in a way.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Some of the raiders accidentally poisoned themselves with arsenic.
Oh, no.
They mistook it for white paint.
Wow.
And
that incident, to me, is a perfect illustration of the cultural divide. The settlers saw paint as essential. It's a tool for building their new world. The Comanches, on the other hand, had no such use for it. It highlights how fundamentally different their values and priorities were. How they viewed even the concept of progress.
Yeah. It makes you realize that this wasn't just a battle over land.
Right.
This was a clash of worldviews.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one of the most heartbreaking outcomes of that raid was the abduction of 9-year-old Cynthia Ann Parker.
Right.
And her brother.
Yeah. And Cynthia Ann's story is key to understanding the human cost of this conflict. She was fully integrated into Comanche society, married Peter Nocona, a prominent chief, and gave birth to Quanah.
Yeah.
Imagine that, being ripped from one world and completely immersed in another, to the point where you no longer recognize your former life.
It really makes you question, the very idea of identity.
Yeah.
What does it mean to belong?
Right.
Be caught up between two cultures. Yeah, absolutely.
Her recapture in 1860.
Yeah.
After all those years living as a Comanche,
Right.
must have been incredibly traumatic for her.
It certainly was.
And for her children.
And it sets the stage for Quanah's rise as a leader.
Yeah.
Here's a young man born from this clash of cultures, raised as a Comanche warrior,
Right.
yet carrying the legacy of both worlds within him.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for a fascinating and complex character.
It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
His sense of destiny, of being shaped by forces beyond your control.
Absolutely.
And we're just getting started. In the next part, we're going to see Quanah step onto the battlefield, face off against the U.S. Army in a fight for his people's survival.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned.
Stay with us.
So welcome back. Last time we left off with Quanah Parker,
Right.
the son of Cynthia Ann Parker,
Yes.
emerging as a Comanche leader.
Yeah.
And it's 1871. The U.S. Army, under Colonel Randall Mackenzie,
is on a mission to subdue the Comanches.
yeah,
But Mackenzie, though skilled, is in for a rude awakening.
he is. He underestimated the Comanches, their tactical brilliance, their knowledge of the land.
Yeah.
Remember those early blunders? Like almost leading his troops into a buffalo stampede.
Oh, yeah.
And leaving campfires burning, revealing his position.
Yeah, rookie mistakes.
Yeah, rookie mistakes. It makes you wonder, did the Army view the Comanches as less sophisticated because of their nomadic lifestyle?
Right.
It's a classic case of judging a book by its cover.
Totally.
Yeah, it certainly highlights the inherent bias of the time. The Comanches, in the Army's eyes, were seen as a problem to be solved,
Right,
an
yeah.
obstacle to westward expansion.
Yeah.
But the Comanches saw it differently, of course. They were defending their home, their way of life.
Yeah, and they weren't just going to roll over.
No.
And the way they responded to Mackenzie's campfire blunder
Right.
was brilliant. It was almost audacious.
It was, yeah.
They didn't just attack the camp. They went straight for the Army's horses,
Yeah.
stole a whole bunch of them, including Mackenzie's own prize, Gray Pacer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Stealing horses was a huge blow to the Army's mobility and a direct attack on Mackenzie's authority.
Right.
It was a powerful statement. Imagine the humiliation, the rage he must have felt.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It wasn't just a tactical loss, it was a personal insult.
It's like they were saying, you may have your guns and your forts, but out here,
Yeah.
on these plains, we're the ones in control.
Right.
And this all leads up to the Battle of Blanco Canyon, where Quanah really makes his mark.
He does, yeah. The descriptions of Quanah leading the charge are captivating. Captain Robert Carter wrote about him riding this black racing pony, face painted for war, wearing an eagle feather headdress that practically trailed on the ground. It's an image that embodies the power and the spirit of the Comanche warrior.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to be impressed by that kind of courage,
Right.
that fierce determination to protect his people.
Right. But war is brutal, no matter what side you're on.
Oh, yeah.
And there are tragic moments, too, like the death of Private Shaunder Gregg.
Yeah.
Quanah himself shot and killed Gregg. It's a chilling reminder that this wasn't some abstract conflict.
Right.
Real lives were lost on both sides, and it shatters that romanticized image of the Wild West that we often see in movies.
Right, exactly. It's a stark reminder that history is messy and violent and often tragic.
Yeah.
But back to the battle. The Comanches, using their superior knowledge of the terrain, launched these hit-and-run attacks, wearing down the army.
Right.
But in the end, the U.S. Army had superior firepower and resources.
They did, and the Battle of Blanco Canyon, though a testament to Comanche bravery and skill, was a turning point. The Army would learn from its mistakes, adapt its tactics, and eventually force the Comanches onto reservations.
Right. It's a bittersweet victory, though.
It is.
The Comanches, these fierce warriors, masters of the plains,
Yeah.
ultimately defeated by a force determined to reshape the West
Yeah.
in its own image.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what would the West look like today
Right.
if things had gone differently?
That's a fascinating question. But for the Comanches, the battle for survival was far from over. And Quanah Parker, with his unique upbringing, his understanding of both worlds, would play a pivotal role in navigating this new reality. A reality where the battlefield shifted from open plains to negotiating tables.
It sounds like Quanah's story is just getting started.
It is.
He goes from leading war parties to leading his people through a period of immense change.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to see how he handles this new challenge.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we explore Quanah's legacy
Right.
and the lasting impact of the Comanche Wars. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our Comanche deep dive.
All right.
And last time we left off with Quanah
Yeah.
leading his people onto the Fort Sill Reservation in Oklahoma.
Right.
A huge shift, to say the least.
It's hard to overstate how drastic a change this was. From roaming the vast plains to being confined to a designated area.
Right.
Just their whole way of life was upended.
And yet Quanah, who was, raised a warrior, thrives in this new environment.
He does.
It makes you wonder what was going through his mind during this transition.
Yeah.
Did he see it as defeat or a new kind of battlefield?
That's where Quanah's pragmatism shines through.
Yeah.
He understood that outright warfare was no longer a viable option,
Right.
but his goal remained the same, the well-being of his people.
So instead of fighting the U.S. Army, he's now fighting for his people's rights within the system.
Exactly.
What did that look like in practice?
Well, he became a master of working within the system.
Okay.
He built relationships with government officials,
Okay.
advocated for better living conditions on the reservation,
Right.
pushed for educational opportunities for Comanche children.
He even managed to negotiate the right for his people to continue some of their traditional practices.
Yes.
Like the Sundance, right?
Exactly. The Sundance was a deeply sacred ceremony for the Comanches.
Yeah.
A way to connect with the spiritual world and ensure the well-being of the tribe.
Right.
The fact that Quanah was able to convince the government to allow it,
Yeah.
despite it being banned at the time,
Right.
speaks volumes about his diplomatic skills.
It's almost like he was conducting a different kind of warfare.
Yeah.
Instead of bows and arrows, he's using diplomacy and negotiation as his weapons.
Exactly. And he did it all while navigating the complexities of two cultures.
Yeah.
There are even stories about him traveling to Washington, D.C. wearing a tailored suit, but still with his Comanche headdress.
Wait, a suit and a headdress?
Yes,
That's an incredible image.
it is.
It's like he's visually representing this bridge between two worlds.
Absolutely.
But did the government officials take him seriously?
Oh, they did.
Or was he just seen as a novelty?
Quanah was respected, even admired by many in the government.
Wow.
You know, he wasn't just a figurehead.
Okay.
He was intelligent, articulate, and genuinely committed to finding ways for his people to thrive in this new reality.
It's a far cry from the fierce warrior we saw leading the charge at Blanco Canyon.
Right.
But you can see that same determination, that same commitment to his people, just channeled in a different direction.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that Quanah wasn't universally loved.
Oh, right, yeah.
Some Comanches saw his cooperation with the government as a betrayal.
Yeah, of course.
It must have been incredibly difficult to balance those competing pressures.
It speaks to his leadership, though, that he was able to make such tough decisions,
It does.
knowing that he couldn't please everyone.
Yeah.
You know, he was playing the long game, focused on ensuring the survival of his culture,
Right.
even if it meant adapting to a new way of life.
And that's where I think his most significant accomplishment lies.
Yeah.
He understood that preserving Comanche culture was key to their survival.
Right.
He encouraged storytelling, language, and traditions to be passed down to younger generations.
So the son of a white captive, raised as a Comanche warrior, ends up playing a crucial role in ensuring his tribe's cultural survival.
He does.
That's quite a legacy.
Quanah Parker's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He faced immense challenges, but he adapted,
Right.
learned, and ultimately led his people through a period of profound change.
It's a story that challenges our assumptions about history, about winners and losers, about what it means to be a leader.
It does.
Quanah wasn't a perfect hero, but he was a complex, fascinating figure who navigated a turbulent chapter in American history with remarkable skill.
He did.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Comanche history.
We have.
We covered a lot of ground. The brutality of the frontier,
Yeah.
the clash of cultures, and the extraordinary life of Quanah Parker.
Absolutely.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a more nuanced understanding of the Comanche Wars
Yeah.
and their lasting impact.
It really has.
And it leaves us with plenty to think about.
It does.
How do we reconcile the different perspectives of history?
Yeah.
How do cultures adapt and survive in the face of overwhelming change?
These are questions that resonate today more than ever.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep learning
Keep questioning.
and keep exploring the many layers of history.